Ready?
Yes.
Okay, I'll open up this planning board meeting for the town of Maynard. Today's date is 2023, and the time is, I can't see that time.
7:02.
7:02 p.m. This meeting is being held in hybrid format, which means that people can either participate here in town hall or on Zoom. For those on Zoom and in the meeting tonight, please note that this meeting is being recorded via the Zoom link. We'll turn to our, we'll skip the minutes and turn to our second item. It is a request for determination at 1 Tiger Drive, the Maynard High School. And this is a determination from the determinant of the board. So the request for determination from the board for the construction of solar canopies, whether it constitutes a major or minor amendment to the approved site plan. And will be represented by Select tonight. Were you guys from Select?
No, I think he's online.
Stu Clark.
I'm Stu Clark with Greenfield Engineering. Mr. Chairman and board members, I'm representing Select Energy on this project. They've worked with the Maynard School District and School Department to develop this solar project, which they want to put over existing parking lot at the school at 1 Tiger Drive. The project will consist of 180 kilowatt solar canopy. It's about 295 feet long and about 40 feet wide, 45 feet wide. These are typically mounted on 3-foot diameter concrete piers that go like 7 to 12 feet into the ground, depending on the soils. The lowest point of the canopy is about 14 feet off the ground, and the highest point is about 25 feet off the ground. The project will not change any of the parking or the drainage on the site, and we would ask that the board find this to be a minor change that can be administratively approved by Bill and his department.
Thank you, Stu. Is there anyone else from your team that will be joining us tonight, or is it just you?
I thought somebody from Select would be here, but I guess not. I guess it's just me.
Okay, where's Bill? Did Bill leave?
Yeah.
Well, here he comes. Bill, for the board, this is for determination of major minor.
That's correct.
For those on the board, can you just cover sort of scope for our review for tonight?
Sure. Yeah, this project is permitted by a special permit and a site plan approval. In this case, the question before the board is, will the addition of the solar panel in the over the parking area constitute a major or minor modification? The building commissioner and myself felt that while it probably would fall under, a minor, we wanted to bring it to the board because of the question of potential affecting of parking. Now, in this case, there's no net loss of parking. There's no new circulation issues considered, but I want to, offer it to the board to, if they felt it was worth, they would have a full site plan review. In this case, what my recommendation is to just simply have an updated, either board we can look at we can pull the site plan, it's ready to go there. But I think it would just be a question of updating the site plan, wouldn't pay how much, but it's the board's determination. The special permit, I don't think, in this case, it was permitted under the limited review as it was, and I don't think that was not affected at all. So it's strictly site plan and the potential effect on the site plan by the addition of the solar panels.
And you referenced there's site plans for us for tonight?
Well, we have the existing, there hasn't been a new one prepared, there's plans. Prepared.
So I understand this, there's no figures, there's no site plans to discuss exactly where
No, we have all that.
Okay, can we bring that up then?
Yeah.
Can talk through that?
Stu, do you want to share your screen or do you want me to pull it up on here and share mine?
I can share mine if you like.
Okay, yeah, why don't you do that?
Well, I'm just saying there wasn't a formal site plan.
You should have permission.
Bear with me, I'm at home and not at my work computer, so I hope I don't mess this up. Give me a minute if you don't mind.
No worries. I just think it'd be easier since he'll talk through it if he wants to share his screen.
Yeah, I just. At my office, I have two screens and I'm used to manipulating between the two, and here I only have one, so I'm trying to do this appropriately.
While Stu's bringing up the plans, the other thing is the board recalls with schools and this sort of project or institutional and under the control of the school. Site plan review is limited. It's basically bulk traffic, general appearance, and circulation. So, you know, it's not everything.
All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Recording in progress.
Oh, okay, it's still on my other screen. Hold on, let me pull it over here. There it is.
Yeah,
It was there for a second.
The way I've seen.
All right. Now, can you see that plan?
yes.
Yes.
A little small. Oh, maybe.
Finally, I'm getting there. All right, so this is the front of the building, Maynard High School. There's a turnaround drop-off area here. The ball fields are over here, natural turf. They have a chain link fence that goes all the way around it. The edge of the pavement is shown by double lines where my cursor is going. So the columns will be not in the pavement, but in the grass area. That's kind of mounded up there right now, and there's trees on that. Those trees will have to be removed, unfortunately, because they won't get any sun and they won't be able to thrive. But the parking won't be changed. We'll be running underground electrical conduit over to the building. Just to tie in with the electrical system there. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. This is the 295-foot length and the 45-foot length. So it comes out to about, I think I said 180 kilowatts of electricity just from this array. But I think there is also a plan to put some solar panels on the roof of the building also.
Thank you, Stu. Is there any other information, Stu, that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I've got a couple more images I could show you if I can figure out what the heck I'm doing here. Should have just stayed at the office, huh?
Snuck out early, huh?
You know, before I started working at Green Seal, I never had two screens, and now I don't know how I ever lived without them. Oh, that's the wrong one. More time. It is this one. This one. All right.
And also just for your reference, the work that they're doing is just outside of conservation's jurisdiction, so they don't have to do anything with that. The only thing that we were concerned about was the drainage, but he's addressed that, and so we don't have to.
Yeah, these solar panels, there's like an inch gap between them all, and the water just falls through. They're like giant leaves, albeit 6 foot by 3 foot leaves, but it just stops the water for a second, then it drips through onto the ground. So this is just a picture of one similar. It's not. It's just a facsimile. And then I have a cross section I can show you from a project we're doing at Rochester Memorial School down here in Rochester, Mass. And it just pretty much, oh, it goes fast. It shows it's composed of. Basically, they're I-beams. There's channel iron on top, and then the panels are fastened to the channel iron. There's I-beam column that comes down to the concrete pier, which goes into the ground. Those concrete piers are usually drilled in with a helical auger, then placed in the ground. They're usually precast structures that come, and they just set them either 7 to 12 feet deep based on the soil. But there's enough area over here. 14 feet is a standard bridge height for Mass DOT, so fire trucks can get under there, school buses can get under there, all that kind of stuff. But those are a couple examples I have. We haven't gone to full design yet because we wanted to go through the permitting process first before we spent the money to, go through the design effort.
Okay, thank you, Stu. Bill, do you have any context to add to this that hasn't been stated yet?
No, not really. It's just I think it's all been summed up pretty succinctly.
So for ownership of this, do we have an entity from town that has ownership of this project, that has put in writing their support for this? I just want to make sure that we have either the school or DPW, whoever's overseeing this.
Both.
Both, we have.
We have school, the superintendent, Brian Haas, we have Justin from DPW, and we have the name escapes me, the parent company for this.
We had a meeting, an internal meeting with all of us and Justin, and as well as Rick, to go over kind of all the aspects to make sure that everyone was comfortable within the town.
Great. I guess I'll turn, Wayne, do you have anything to add to this before I turn to the board?
I actually, thanks, Mr. Chair. I have not seen this before. I heard that this was ongoing, but I have not seen this. I have just a question. Stu, I know you said you haven't fully designed this yet. And Stu, just for the record, I'm the town engineer. I'm looking at an aerial image. These are it's only center column support?
On this structure, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And it looks like there's two small sections of sidewalk out there, so I'm assuming the footings would just be placed outside the limits of that?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, so just the trees would be affected, as you noted.
Mhm.
Okay. And it could you you don't need to bring the image back up, but it looks like the cantilever was basically hanging over the parking and hanging over the grass about equidistant.
About equidistant, yes.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. I'll turn it to the board. Any questions or comments from the board? Jim?
I have a question and then a comment. Question to Wayne. Wayne, does this appear to look and be similar to what is over in action at the museum?
Jim, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that, but Julia seems to be saying yes.
Yes, I don't think these will be as large as the ones over at the museum, because there's
So
multiple in a row of
It'd
them.
be similar to what we see over there now.
Yeah, just like the one
Okay.
version.
And then the comment I would have is that when is this going to be done? I hope that it will be started after school ends this spring and is finished before school starts in September. Can we put that in the conditions?
So Jim, this is a major minor determination. Can we?
It would be a minor.
You condition a minor or major term determination, Bill?
How about every recommendation?
Yeah, I think I could put it, typically when I do a major or minor determination, I write a certificate of vote. And I could put that what I would recommend is that if the board has I don't know the dates, but I mean, there may be more than.
Whatever.
Yeah. But whatever the date you came up with, we could say that if it wasn't done at that point, maybe the applicant could reappear before the board to give an update or something to that effect. That'd be my recommendation. Yeah.
Stu, do you have any sense of schedule?
I do not, sir.
That's fine.
Based on, I think, our previous conversations, the reason why they wanted to get in front of us as soon as possible is to be able to kind of take advantage of the summer. Because they have
Yeah.
to get construction materials and stuff, so.
Mr. Chair, it's a pretty quick construction. Once we get the permitting and the preliminary stuff done, so it goes up pretty rapidly.
And just for my understanding, is there permitting beyond the town of Maynard? Is there other state permits or anything of that nature?
No,
Okay.
just the building permit, of course.
Building and electrical will be next.
Other comments or questions from the board?
Comment that, if general appearance is one of the site plan criteria, then 300-foot long structure seems to meet that, so it points to a major in my mind.
Do you have other comments, questions, Bill? Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
I have several. So, first of all, if we're talking about considerations of parking, it seems like parking will not be impacted. Visibility, it's tall enough that it should not be impacted, especially considering that emergency vehicles seem that they will not be impacted. So all of those things are great. In terms of what it looks like, I always like to see what it looks like, but I have seen them, a lot of municipalities have them. They're pretty innocuous. The high school is nice looking, but I don't think that this will detract from it in any way. And additionally, of course, I was referencing the master plan earlier when I was looking at this, and my printer is broken, so I apologize for using my phone. But specifically, there's one that specifically mentions, incorporating solar capacities into municipal and public buildings. And this is doing that, I think, at no cost. So in my mind, it's a pretty great idea.
Mr. Chair, can I make a quick point of clarification?
Sure, go ahead.
Respond to Bill, as Bill said. Bill, I think I did misspeak about what the appearance. It says, section 2, chapter 48, project is subject to reasonable regulations with regard to bulk, height, and structures. Regulations with regard to bulk, height, structures, determining yard sizes, lot area, setbacks, open space, parking, lighting, and building coverage. Beyond these areas of regulation, educational facilities are otherwise exempt from zoning controls. That's from section 3 of chapter 48. I don't know how I got design in there, but it's up to the board, whatever you think, but that's from the statute.
Yeah, well, Bill seems to meet bulk, height, and structure.
Yeah, but it's,
Sounds like a super good idea, but Bill seems to hit the definition of a major.
We are in a discussion about major minor, and I think that's the appropriate thing to focus on, not whether we approve the project or not.
if the board did choose to make a major, it would be for site plan amendment.
Okay.
If the minor, we would still want the site plan amended.
To clarify, my saying I thought it was a good idea contributes to the fact, I've seen these things, in my mind, they're not the bulk and the height of these things, to me, does not affect one's experience of the space in a way that would make, it contributes to my thoughts about major versus minor.
Let's go.
Is that at this site or is that at any site? Because I can envision sites where it could be a concern to a neighborhood, for instance.
Yeah.
Or the neighbors. So is our decision a decision that takes into consideration this? Or is it just based on whether it's major, minor, regardless of this location? So whatever our decision we would make here, we would apply the same decision to the Pocket Street development or, you know, any other development across town. And are we prepared to say that you can construct these structures and certainly something this large at any site without having to come back in and get your site plan modified?
Well, you wouldn't be setting precedent. So like, you know, if any other development wanted to come in, they would have to go through the same, it's site by site for sure. So, and, you know, every project and every site and it's so different. And that's why we have you do the minor modification.
And that's what this is, major, minor. And Bill, can you read that list again that you mentioned or referenced a little while ago?
About the criteria, you know, under the educational
From
facilities.
From the judgment decision that you mentioned.
The, well, this was from the previous approval, here.
Which references the,
Section 3, Chapter 48. This is an educational facility, under Section 3 of Chapter 48. This project is subject to reasonable regulations with regard to bulk and height of the structures and determining yard sizes, lot area, setbacks, open space, parking, lighting, and building coverage requirements. Beyond these areas of regulation, educational facilities are otherwise exempt from all other zoning controls.
my understanding of. And I read on this a little bit, I thought traffic was also included. In that, not just parking, but traffic as well. Am I right about that or?
I thought it was, I thought it was circulation, but,
Right,
yeah.
and I don't want to rely on the previous decision to have it absolutely perfectly correct.
Right.
I thought traffic was part of the consideration under that judgment that everyone references. I forget the name of the judgment of the case.
No, you're thinking of, oh, yeah, what's next? Oh, the,
Okay. But I believe that as an education facility, my understanding was also. The traffic flow was part of the consideration too.
that was, yeah, but that came under the this is where we got into nonprofits and profits, remember, that was I know, you're talking about the, what's the name of it, we did it with, Beijing Royal School.
Yeah. That's okay.
Dover Amendment, yeah.
But I think you can short circuit this. So our judgment for tonight is whether things such as bulk and height structures, open space, parking, lighting is impacted or considered, and I think that's our job for tonight for major, minor. Any other thoughts or questions on that?
My comment about bulk specifically is that a structure without walls impacts my decision about the bulk of it.
Okay. So you're thinking the notion of structure would apply to, say, buildings and things of that nature?
It certainly could apply, but I think in this situation at an educational facility located where it is in scale with the building behind it, the high school, it feels, you know, I can see how that bulk would present differently on a different site, perhaps, but having spent a lot of time at this place, in my mind, the lack of walls, the angle of the roof, in my mind, is not a huge detriment to the landscape.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's something that I would provide as an opinion during a site plan hearing. And I don't know if I consider that as much, whether I'm thinking of minor versus major. If that makes sense.
In my mind, minor is, well, as Bob was saying, in my mind, minor versus major also has taken the site into consideration, but maybe that's not true for everyone.
I don't have an answer to that, so. Okay, my opinion, wait, hold on, I had a question. Actually, I can't remember. Yes. Oh, it's not a hearing, so we don't need to take public comment, but we'll consider that. I think I wanted to remember my question first. Oh, so I heard that I heard that parking was not being impacted at all, so meaning the same number of parking spaces are being kept?
Exactly. It's just gonna go over the parking area. It will not impact the parking at all.
It looks like there's a walkway that's gonna be under this canopy. Is that gonna be impacted at all?
No, there's a walkway, if you're looking, let's say from the front of the school building, it's on the left side of the array. That, there's a handicap ramp and a concrete walk going off to the left there. And our pier will be about 2 feet off the side of that, so it will not impact it, no.
There's no walkway. Yeah. But there are. So there's crossings too. So what I'm seeing is that there's pedestrian paths sort of adjacent to it. There's crossings to the parking lot that are underneath the canopy structure as well. I'm seeing just a couple interactions between pedestrian crossings, ADA compliance and things of that nature, which points to me that I think it just needs a harder look, is what I'm getting at. Any other thoughts or questions from the board? Any other further information to provide, Stu?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Since this is, remind me, Bill, since this is just a major minor, this isn't a hearing, I don't need to close the hearing, this is just take a vote. Okay, I'll make a motion. So I guess it's either we have to make a motion for major or minor, wait.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the board, yeah, that you could, whether you determine it's a major or minor modification, with what I would ask for is just with the understanding that we will have, obviously we want a set of as-built, Wayne, correct? But I would think that we would, a revised set of as-built for that page, is that correct, Wayne?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually, Stu had mentioned that the design hadn't even been completed. I would like to at least have the design submitted to your office for review once it's done. For instance, one other thing I had noticed, it looks like there's 3 light poles there, Stu. I'm assuming the canopy's higher than those, so it should go over them.
Yes, it will.
Okay, but those are I would just want to see how it's placed, Bill. And yes, so design plans and as-built, I think would be pertinent.
So what I'd say, Wayne, if what I would recommend, if it's, you concur with it, it would be a revised site plan, just of that feature. I mean, don't do the whole site plan, right, of that with any detail cuts or whatever that are necessary, and then whatever you'll need for subsequent follow-up, which is what we'll need in any case.
For the building permit as well, so.
Sure. I'll make a motion to consider this a major modification. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, that's light pole issue, had something to it, and that's. I don't know if that's safety lighting for the parking lot or what, but that was another issue that is under site plan review, correct?
Yes, lighting is.
Yeah. So if I go straight by the book on this, and I mean, I agree with Natalie's perspective on this, that it is looking and tracking like it makes a lot of sense. But if I just go by the book, I'm seeing vulcanized structures, which I think this potentially could apply. I'm seeing walkways and ADA compliance, interfaces with the structure. There's potential lighting impacts. We just need to make sure that everything gets taken a look at. So that's why I'm considering it a major. Any further questions or discussion? In favor by hand for the major modification? That's three for major modification. Does that qualify? Okay.
Yeah, it is a, we want to have the no vote.
And I'm assuming no votes for Natalie and Jim, or are you abstaining?
I'm a no.
You're no?
No.
Okay, so 3-2.
Okay, 3, yeah, because it's not a special permit. This is a locally controlled process. So all that will be involved in this, Stu, you can contact my office and I think we can walk you through it. You heard the board's concerns. You know what the board would be looking for in a site plan. They understand there's a limited scope. We're not asking you to redo the whole site plan or anything at all like that. But they're going to want something that so they clearly know what they're approving. But I'll be happy to help you any way we can between Julie and myself. So we look forward to hearing from you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you to the board also. Your concerns are heard and we will address them.
Thank you, Stu. Let's turn to item 3. The modification of the site plan for Mater Crossing.
So he's just gonna set up if we just want to give him 1 minute.
Sure. So this is for, maybe Bill or Julia, can you walk us through? Just give us the highlights on this and some guidance, and then we'll turn it over to the applicants.
Sure.
Sure. So we're talking about a site plan modification, to R3, no, R3, okay. And which we've already seen one modification to this area. We switched it from into R3A and B. So now what they're asking is a slight modification to the side of the building for the purposes of the tenant that they are trying to have move into this area. So there is some changes in parking and in outdoor use. So yeah, those are the two big ones. I'll let him.
Can you remind me of the numbering of the approximate building?
Yes,
I'm sorry, before we go, can you guys just introduce yourself for the record, please?
certainly, I apologize.
No, no.
John Cusick with Bowler Engineering.
Bob DePietri, Capital Group Properties, and on the screen is Jim Bosler for Capital Group Properties, and
And I forgot to share the screen, so let me do that.
I'm just gonna take a very quick step back, just, I think it's just relevant, and you had alluded to it. Again, back in 2017, this was the R3 building. It was just one large building, 56,000 square feet. We were before you back in 2022 to essentially do this, which split it into two buildings. Just it was easier to tenant that way, made more sense and better plan. It dropped about 10,000 square feet by doing that. Where we are today is we've now gone out and marketed that and have a tenant. And based on tenant requirements to comply with some state regulations, we need to make a change to the site plan. So building R3 is located up in this area over here. And we've essentially have a daycare provider here. We've had
Sorry, pardon me, can we maybe back it up and shift it so we can all see here tonight?
Yeah, we're trying to
get the owl going
camera.
too.
Yeah,
Does this work?
I'm gonna try to follow you along on here.
I think, you know what, at
So,
this point, all I'm gonna be speaking to is that. one.
okay, so I'll try to point to stuff as you go and then
Should
you,
I move forward then,
If-
or?
where would you like him?
Maybe back towards the screen. I just want to make sure the whole group can see it.
Yeah, and I'm turning down Bill's in trouble if I do this.
Well, don't worry about Bill. Bill's seen this many times. Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
And our audience, you're.
Well, yeah, can we see if there's some?
You know what, I can actually tell you what, I'm gonna make life easy, I'll speak to the screen, how about that, I guess the only purpose for the easels was really to show some of the history on that RG building.
I was actually just leaving you there.
Yeah, I'm a little slow, sometimes, the next time, just throw your mallet at me. But in any event, so since then, we have made just a minor change, really to add some of these outdoor spaces here and here. It's state regulation that you want to have that for that type of facility. So prior to getting to the plan that you're looking at, we've had a handful of meetings with some folks in town just to review the plan, and it's really been a little refined since then. We originally had some of these areas in the back of the building there. Which suggested that move that out of the back area. There was some concerns with really the way the back area is today. Again, this is just the one.
Julia, is this working for the remote audience?
Yep, sorry, I'm trying to follow along. If we go, this is the area, this is what it used to in our conversation before.
All right, so I would just recommend slowing down the discussion.
Certainly. Certainly, and
You
then,
can talk to the people who aren't in the room.
certainly, so I'll look at the owl. So this is actually a good plan to speak to. The red is essentially showing the currently approved plan. And the big change was through here, there was a drive aisle that came down in this direction in here. And then there was just some striped out areas for loading and unloading, which I think the intent previously was something would actually, you know, pull in there. So to add the play areas in, we eliminate that drive aisle and a couple of those spaces here. And keep the majority of these parking spaces that are located here. These spaces service these buildings. So if you've been out there, which I'm sure you probably have, there's front facing businesses on that side of the building. Those parking stalls will serve there. So if you drive out there, I was out there tonight to take a spin through, you can just see the activity servicing this way. We actually have the site blocked off now as if it would operate. So we know how it's operating today. So we literally have this blocked off here as well as here, just to see how the site will operate with that closed. It does not change any of the truck routes. It actually, in my opinion, actually makes the circulation a little bit better because it gets rid of one intersection point in this area, which is a little bit busy. So you've got the connection over here and over here, and it just kind of gets rid of that middle one, which works pretty well. We have added at the request, I don't remember where the request came from, but it was, no, we can talk to this one too. It's all on here. We've added a couple of speed humps that are located here. That's again, that back aisle, still one-way traffic coming in. It's a straight shot and it was requested, hey, can we do something about, maybe controlling traffic a little bit more if we've got that opportunity. So we've done that, which I think will help greatly here and here. What we've also done too is shrunk the really the aisle. It's a wider aisle. We need it to be wide for trucks and whatnot that might go back there. But through striping, we've got a 12-foot lane right over here, and the rest of that is actually striped out to further promote that it's one-way traffic in that area. Drive over on this side, keep everything separate. The way the facility will work is so everyone's going to really park here, and it's not really it's not like a retail establishment where you have customers. You've got pick up and drop off. So the pickup and drop off is located here. It's a very thick light line. It might be kind of hard to see from when you're sitting, but that's the designated area where the pickup and drop off would occur. Based on that, if there's children in that area, we widened out this location here. We thought it was better to have a more prominent, wider walk across the aisle. And again, another reason why it makes sense that cut through, just to get rid of that, just to have less turn points at that area. So those are some of the changes that we've made to the site plan, and I think they all make a lot of sense and work well with the tenant. A couple of things to point out. There was it's going towards Wayne's comments. I don't want to speak for him, but I just would like to address some of the comments that he had asked about in his letter. And I think for the most part, a lot of the comments that he had were previously addressed. But one item he had asked about was concerned with cut through traffic in here, which I really don't think we're going to get that, because you've got this island here and it's a very short distance anyway. If someone's looking to cut through, they'll come that way. We could potentially get rid of some parking in here to allow people to come in and out. However, I don't think that would be the best use for that area, in that parking was specifically designated for these businesses that are here, and that's how it operates today. Those businesses are up and running and functional, and that's where the focus is. To eliminate parking in that area, I think would make it more congested, and we really would be somewhat concerned with doing that. The second comment that was somewhat related with that was it was a concern that if people were parking here and they were walking to the front, there should be a sidewalk, which we don't have. And again, we specifically did not do that on purpose, just based on the way the leases are set up and the way that we want traffic to operate. again, we want this parking to serve this building. We want this parking to serve that building. So we don't want, to add a walk in there to promote that movement, which is why that was not proposed in that area. Wayne had a comment just about the maintenance of the striping. We're adding all of the striping in this area to really try to help out with traffic definition in that area. And the comment was, can we make it, thermoplastic or make sure there's a maintenance program? Maintenance program makes sense because there's a lot of striping on the site that really wants to be maintained. So I don't think we would have an issue at all with making sure that's done, and I assume that's done anyway, I suspect. So those are the highlights. I can certainly get into some additional detail and answer any questions. And I certainly don't want to speak for Wayne. Obviously, I'd like to appreciate his comments and don't want to mischaracterize anything he may have written down, and would ask that he speak to you about his thoughts on the plan and what was presented. So with that.
Thank you. And I will turn it over to Wayne in a second. I'm struggling to understand. So you see, Julia, can you zoom into the top left corner of the building? And then, so it's hard, this is gonna be hard for me to explain, so just bear with me.
Yeah, this is just a hard version that's also scanned in.
Is there a better version that we have available to us? Or
There is, can you see it better on that plan? Or do you want me to pull up?
I'm trying to understand what the proposed, we'll just call it the final conditions. Here, is this
This
the,
is the
This is
final.
the better plan to look at.
can you zoom in then to that same top left corner?
Yeah, and while we discuss, I'll pull up a clearer
Okay.
image.
Thank you. So as I understand this, it looks like the non-vehicle space is extending further left or further west, right, than what the previous design was. Is that correct? So if you went to that other figure.
Yep.
The reds, the red islands are going away,
I see, yep,
right?
correct. So-
Okay, and this is why it's confusing to me, because usually when I see markups, usually red means the proposed changes.
Okay.
And so in this
This is
case,
the opposite from what you're
this
looking
is,
at. Sure.
I'm confused because the opposite. So can we just go back up to the proposed, say, final condition you guys are looking towards? And so if I understand this, traffic on the north side of the building can only head left and head west,
That
right?
is correct. It travels
Yeah.
this direction here.
And it looks like we still have a loading zone on that north side of the building.
Right over here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then from there, it looks like traffic will then have to proceed even further left and further west. And then come down in front of the F-45 property, with that building.
Yep,
Where the F-45 is located and the other, sorry, I don't remember all of the businesses. there.
Yeah, I don't either, but that's correct. So as traffic is say was a loading, and this is a very low loading type of a business. It's, just any materials that they need to bring in. But let's assume they had a delivery, it would come in, it would stop in here. And then it would carry on its way right down in here, then get on, on the main road around the around there.
Can you illustrate that full movement?
And sorry, and just
Sorry.
because it's hybrid now, if we could, yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to do too many things at
Yeah, I
once.
apologize. All right, so, excuse me.
Yeah.
So again, if you say there was loading, again, there'll be very, very little loading for this, but say there was, that stop here.
Although that's not the only loading that occurs when that behind those buildings, correct?
That's for this particular tenant. There's an equal one that's located on this side too, right over here. But whether it parks here, whether it's here, it continue on its way, come down here, around in this direction. And then I can't point with the mouse, but right around here is where you then turn around and get back on the
Can you bring up a broader view?
And that is consistent with the approved plans. That's how it's currently designed. Where the heavy duty pavement is for trucks and all that good stuff.
Is that what you mean? Is that what you want?
Yeah, so we just follow the truck.
Yeah,
moving to the-
starts to come around here. And it's just out of the picture on, oh, there you go. So it comes back around to here. And that's that main aisle. That's consistent with what's there today.
And so we're clear, the R1 building is still proposed,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, the R1 building is the one that's the last remaining building in the center. That's correct.
Good. I was out there the other day. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss a building.
That's the one you're missing.
There's been updates to the center, sort of northern part of that building, which used to be like kind of bollard and delivery zone. I don't know what
Yes,
to call that.
yeah, yep,
What do
exactly.
you call that? I don't know. An insert, a drive insert?
Yeah, we'll call it an insert, I
Okay,
guess,
fine.
but yeah, that we
Yeah.
presented that back in 2022. There's a lot of focus on that area. And then there was just concern with the vehicles kind of coming down in here.
Are vehicles still gonna be allowed to come in there?
No, with, that was actually one of the comments I left out that Wayne had was, I think there was a concern with those, play areas that are located there. You didn't want a vehicle come in there, and obviously we don't either. So I don't think that was probably clearly stated in the submittal letter, but vehicles aren't coming in this way. If there was a, say they were rolling out a, trash or something like that, that would be rolled out. Nothing would be pulling into that area.
Is there, I see some type of feature, is that a traffic control mechanism, a bollard or something on the?
Right over here.
Sorry.
Yeah, do you want me to point to that?
If you could zoom into,
You're talking right in the middle of
I
it.
feel like this is backseat driving.
Yeah, we're having trouble trying to find the originals,
So
so.
you're referring to this right here.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
is that it? What is that?
It's a barrier we're put there to physically
No, it's
prevent
only the
anybody
stand.
from driving in there. So it'd be like a concrete barrier that you'd see.
A permanent one or say like a Jersey barrier?
It'd be like a Jersey barrier,
Just email it to me.
but the intent is that's why nobody can drive through that.
Is it permanent installed or is it something that sits on the surface, you think? Do you have a sense of that yet?
I mean, it's permanent. Okay, so it would mount it in the ground then. Yeah, so if when you do that, you typically dowel it, you end up
Right,
doweling
that's
it.
what, that's what I'm asking. if
Yep.
it's movable.
What does that text say then?
Concrete barrier.
Hey,
Can't read
Julia, do you want
Yep.
me to share my screen? I have the clean copy that I could share.
That would be amazing. Thanks, Wayne.
Sure. This is the version you're referring to.
Yeah, so I have a clean version, but it's, so, like he mentioned, we've gone back and forth with staff and them for a couple of months now, and so I have about 4 different versions of this plan, and every time I've pulled one up, it happens to be just a slight modification that's different, so I just don't want to confuse you guys and pull up the wrong one.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's. You can see
there you
that
go,
better
that's
now.
much
It's a
clearer.
concrete barrier and
Thank you.
we have zero issue permanently mounting that into the ground, because that is the intent. We don't want people driving in there.
And right, I asked that specific question because we don't know who may move things in the future. And if we have design features, it's best to have them permanently installed. So we understand scope. Has there been, we're making changes to the sort of traffic patterns and some concrete barriers and delivery zones, and we've extended, I don't want to call it the building footprint, but the occupied footprint to the west. And we've taken away a drive aisle and potentially, I think, just a drive aisle and some sidewalk. And that's the scope we've discussed so far. Is there any changes to stormwater?
No, all the impervious areas and all that will be the same. We're might have to relocate a catch basin here or there based on this, but everything should be what's within the approved plans. Similar to the last application, obviously, once we know that this makes sense for the board, you know, the detailed engineering with, you know, spot shots and, you know, where's that catch basin gonna move to? You know, we would put that on a plan set and obviously Wayne would take a look at that. But right now, we're just more interested in the overall site plan and making sure everybody was comfortable with it.
Wayne, can I turn it over to you to give your perspective and your status of comment and review?
Sure, glad to, Mr. Chair. So John did a great job. Thank you, John, of summarizing things. We did meet with the applicant at least twice with a pre-application package, and they did address a lot of comments. I do have Pat from VHB here as well, if there's any traffic questions that we want to bounce off of him. But we did meet, and the applicant did revise things accordingly, so we do appreciate that. John did summarize. I did send a memo out, and I apologize. Normally, we try to get things out a little earlier, but I didn't get it out until yesterday. But thank you for at least taking a look at that, John. We appreciate that. And he did summarize the remaining comments. The pavement markings is just really, you know, for the record, these are much larger than most places on the site, so we just want to make sure that those are adequately maintained, and I'm sure they will be. I know the Capital Group has been diligent about maintaining things. Yeah, John brings a different perspective. I was pretty adamant, and I think Pat and I both were concerned, but I'll let him comment after, about the sidewalk on that westerly side. After hearing John's explanation of trying to have that parking being really funneled towards the exercise place over F45 and the salon or whatever that other facility is over there, I do understand that. Hopefully you guys can still see my screen. I think
Yes.
it's still worth discussing, and I would like to let Pat comment if he wants. So what we were proposing is to basically complete the picture by putting a section of sidewalk along here. Hopefully you can see my mouse. If the applicant desires not to do that, I think these are bollards or fence. I guess bollards, John. It looks like bollards probably to protect the play area.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Yeah, it's kind of hard to look at the label where the cursor just was. It's pointing to the fence
Yeah.
on the side, but wherever there's traffic heading towards the play area, we unequivocally would want to have protective bollards in those locations.
Okay, so if
We also have some at the bottom as well. Apologize, right in here. Even though it's a curve, it's still the drive aisle coming up. We thought that was prudent.
yeah, that makes sense. So still for discussion, but if your desire is to not provide the sidewalk here, and after your explanation, I do understand it a little bit better. You may want to consider at least providing a curb break right where this hatched out spot is, and maybe lose one more spot, because let's say somebody comes over here. Let's say it's staff of the facility, right? And they park over here. They're walking here. They have to go over this physical island. And I think it would probably be good to have a cut through so that, just respecting a handicapped person or whatever, if they do park in this area, let's say they park here and they want to go over here, at least there's a cut through that they could get up onto this sidewalk system with. So that's something that I guess I'd want you to either think about or comment on.
Yeah, that's a good comment, Wayne. I think what we could do is this, and the purpose of these, if somebody comes here, they've got a room to back in and back out, so somebody doesn't get stuck. So I think what we're looking for, it's a really good comment. If we move this to here.
Sorry, and again, Wayne, can you, for the people online and for the recording, can you help follow along where we're discussing?
I'll try. I can't, but I'll try.
I apologize, Wayne. I've been thinking.
The hatched area below.
Yeah, the hybrids. So the hatched area on the opposite parking area, correct? We just slide that one up to be exactly opposite of the one.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Get rid of the curb in that area so you can cut through exactly where it is. And then that sidewalk section that we have proposed on the bottom left corner of play area 1. We simply could slide that up a little bit so you could access it, slide it to the right. So it's not right in front of the parking stall. So I think that would do what you're looking to accomplish. I think it's a very good comment.
That's fine. And I guess, Pat, did you have anything else or any follow-up? I do understand a little bit better now why they don't want the sidewalk. I'm still kind of mixed on it, but I maybe can be talked out of it. I guess it depends on your perspective on it.
Hi, Pat Dunford from VHB, as Wayne had said. just to clarify, because we're doing the hybrid and in-person thing, the crosshatch diagonal space, just to the left of building 2, and likewise the one to the left of building 1, I'm assuming that's to allow people, if they come down to the end of the aisle and can't find a space, it helps them with that little bump out at the end to maneuver, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I think what I just heard, and again, I think I'm okay without the sidewalk along the full length of the frontage. I do like the idea of the cut through, basically right at the dividing line between play area 1 and 2, that area where Wayne was just highlighting. Are you saying you'll eliminate 1 space from the 11 space row to make that happen?
Yeah, I think we just essentially switch it, right? So right now, the striped area opposite the play area number 1.
Yep.
I think we'd simply slide that up to the stall. Closer to the intersection of play area 1 and 2. So it still serves the same purpose. That becomes your turnaround.
Okay.
And then the sidewalk, so now you can kind of cut through, but if we replace that striped area with a stall, if a car is there, you're gonna have a hard time getting to the sidewalk that's there. So I would just suggest that we kick the sidewalk over, that small section of sidewalk opposite the 10 parking stalls at the corner. We just kick that over to the right, so it goes all the way up to the end of the stall. So if somebody happens to cut through that cutout we just created, they've got access to the new section of sidewalk we added at the I'll call it planned south corner of play area number 1, the southwest corner.
Yeah, if you can make the sidewalk and the ramps all work, that seems to accomplish what we're looking for. And the cut through right above where the red ink was just drawn, I think we're just talking like a 5-foot wide sidewalk type opening, not a full width of the parking space where people are going to start to use it to drive through.
That is correct.
Okay.
John,
and
is that what you're suggesting? Sorry, Pat, something like that?
100%, Wayne.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead, Pat, sorry.
No, just lastly, I had noted you do have now 2 dead end aisles. It sounds like, are these spaces devoted solely to building R3A, or is it also on the gym side to the left?
So those parking spaces that everything in that parking area, that's all going to the building to the left, the R2.
Okay.
Yeah, that exactly, as those arrows
Gotcha.
are being drawn.
So, I
think doors there.
Yeah, on occasion, you are going to get people that come down, can't find a space and have to do some maneuvering. So it's kind of clutter, mini congestion that's going to occur from time to time in your lot. You know, I don't know how much concern that is to the town versus the tenant or the operator, but you know, at least if we're doing the sidewalk or the walkway connection, that's probably more critical to me. If you can't lose those extra spaces.
And then something we went back and forth with this on this sidewalk area because, I'm sitting here as a planner, but also as conservation agent. I was really concerned about the amount of impervious surface that we have on this site. And so anywhere that we can even take a sliver of impervious surface out and having, so it's that balance, right, of wanting sidewalks and also, potentially wanting to keep those planters to keep their impervious surface down. So I just wanted to add that as another concern.
Thank you. Wayne and Pat, is there anything else to add regarding your review?
I guess the only other thing we had in our comment letter, we just made a comment to make sure that, and as John noted, a final design plan will be submitted, but just make sure you provide some type of spec on the concrete barrier, just so that we note that it's some type of, crash worthy.
Yep, no, absolutely, and that is unequivocally the intent.
So that's it, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had. Pat, did you have anything else?
Super minor comment at the southwest corner of building 1, the stop line next to that crosswalk to the left. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just technically just pull it back 4 feet from the crosswalk. 4 feet
We will
between
do
stop
that.
and crosswalk.
Thank you.
That's it.
Good comment, Pat. Thank you. All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Wayne, if you're,
Could you explain the the proposed concrete walk between the building and the playground area? What's the purpose and is it ADA accessible, all that stuff?
Oh, so you're referring to, right in here?
Yeah.
So I think it's to allow the tenant, if they wanted to come out here and walk down this way without entering the playground. I think that was the intent, but we could review that closer with the tenant.
That's tenant space and not publicly.
That's unequivocally tenant space for that play area.
We actually have some rings so that we can understand what they're trying to do with them if you want, you know?
Yeah, we loaded them up too.
Great. You know those though?
Yeah,
I think we can get there. I do have some other questions first, but I wanted to pause here and then turn to the board and then we can move on to other items. I kind of want to compartmentalize this discussion a little bit. So we've talked about parking and traffic and pedestrian flows. And you said there's no changes to stormwater, but there might be potentially. Can we get clarity on that from you and Wayne as well?
yeah, I think, so the stormwater flow and basically everything's going to the same area. None of that is changing. The only thing I'll point out, you'll see these right here. These are currently the, catch basins that are here. They don't do any good in the middle of the play area, so we'll end up relocating those to the end there as.
Into the parking lot area?
Yeah,
to the
so
west?
exactly. So the pre and post and where they all go, none of that is changing. It's just gonna be physically, we might need to move a structure to work with the new curbing.
Got it. And then there's some underground changes, obviously, to connect those up, but you're not changing any of the main piping or anything like that.
Correct. None of the basins and the main conveyance, those should all stay where they are.
And the playground structures then, are they impervious?
Yeah, so they're actually, it's actually pervious. So typically they'll put down either a turf area or some wood chips, excuse me, and it's a lot of that's somewhat mandated by state regulation, what you have to do there. But underneath that is free draining material, so go through that, and those turf areas are actually pretty porous.
Yeah.
So this actually does reduce some of the impervious area that we have by doing that.
That's great. Duly noted, Julia. I'm sure you heard that there's pervious area that has been increased. Yes.
We had her in mind with that.
Discussed it greatly.
Site lighting, how does site lighting change?
And I don't think it does, and by that, you can see the light right here for that area. That doesn't need to move and will still light up the area. I don't believe there's any internal lighting that's for these. The intent, this isn't like a 24-hour operation. It's, they'll be outside typically 9 to 4, something along those lines. So those areas, it's not additional lighting that's needed for that.
And we have a site lighting plan, and Bill and Wayne, I don't recall if this proposed building was on the site lighting plan. So I think it would be helpful just to get a review to make sure that we're just consistent with whatever has been obviously proposed. There's parking lighting, there's building lighting, and then there's security lighting. So we just need to check on those.
Yeah, the parking lighting wouldn't change. The like the security lighting, like above doors and all of that, that would be part of the building, kind of the building package that goes into the building permit. That would certainly be, we made sure that was part of the code requirement that gets submitted there, but the parking lot lighting, none of that would change as part of this.
Okay, so originally there was only the one overhead there in the center that has been circled by Wayne. That was already approved,
Yes,
and that has not been changed. So we have not removed any overhead lights from the parking lot.
correct. I will confirm that in the detailed study from the way, but that's my understanding of it.
Okay. Streetscapes, besides the area that has been overtaken by the playground structures, all the other treescapes are the same as what was currently been part of the plan?
That is correct. These islands, this island here, that's all the same. Essentially, just had those couple of end caps that were here that now really get slid out to this pervious area next to it. So it's something gets reconfigured for lack of a better word.
Is the new island, on the north of the playground area, is that have trees? Is that where you're replacing the one you're removing?
So there wouldn't, in this area, we probably wouldn't put any trees in that area. I don't think it would make sense right next to the play area.
I think that one, John, that's the big guy, the one at the end of the play.
Oh, are you talking up in right here?
Yeah, Wayne, right where your cursor is, can you just circle that?
Is that just paint or is that a?
No, that's gonna be in the landscape area. Again, we heard loud and clear, we wanted to create green where we could, so that made some sense, to put some green over here and over here. So we took that opportunity to get rid of some pavement there.
Is it shown on another plan? Because I'm not seeing that on this plan. That's listed as landscape area on this particular
I
plan.
don't think there's a label to it per se, but we have the hatch, you can see the concrete hatch here.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay, so since it's not concrete hatch, that's
Correct.
implying that it's landscape?
that is correct.
Okay.
Can I
Yes.
make it quick?
Yes.
I was just noticing, I'm trying not to pay too much. I glanced at the tenant renderings, which are not our concern, except that I wanted to see how they matched up with the current plan. Because as Bill said, you know, going forward, the tenant might change, but we want to just make a plan. It doesn't appear. It appears that their play area is going to jut out very slightly into that space. They showed the door at the end of the concrete sidewalk opening there. So just something to keep in mind. I don't see any bollards at that end. I'm not sure how it's gonna work in terms of where the fence line will be versus where any bollarding will be.
Are you referring to
Yes.
this area in here?
Yes, up by that area we were just discussing. Just something to consider, in the tenant renderings, they show it, a doorway opening at the end of that concrete, you know, sidewalk at the top of the plan, straight into,
Right.
yes, exactly,
Yeah.
straight into a play area. So just something to keep in mind in terms of fencing and bollard options. I don't see bollards up there. I don't know if that's the plan.
Yeah, I think the intent when we first looked at it from bollards is we wanted, if it was, you're driving, you know, straight in.
Yep.
Or up here, we thought those were the areas. This is a little bit wider and you
Yep.
weren't driving that way.
And
so
if
we
they're,
didn't-
if they're not gonna be there, then that's okay, but, the fencing on the tenant plan shows it jutting out, and I just wanna make sure that.
Okay, we'll take a look
It's,
at
I
that.
mean, I'm not,
We'll make sure it's consistent.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
exactly.
course, yeah.
Yeah,
and while we're at it, can I just ask a quick question? Are there any doorways? Are there any, sorry, other than that door that I was just talking about at the end of that sidewalk? Are there any entrances to the play area from, you know, the parking side?
no,
Or the top, so there, like, no one could park over there and, you know. walk their
unequivocally
kid in.
not, yeah.
So in terms of people parking, it would not be helpful to be parking at the very top of this plan, because you're gonna have to walk all the way down to the front door anyway.
That is correct. Yeah, the only way in and out is through the front door. And then you have to pick your children up from inside the building. You certainly don't want it haphazard from
Right.
all directions.
Thank you.
How do you maintain the playground area? Bring in new wood chips and stuff?
I think that's ultimately what ends up happening, that they probably have a shelf life to what they are, then you'd need to replace them if it's wood chips. Eric obviously would laugh.
How do you get it in there?
He's talking about deliveries of wood chips and, you know, maintenance on the area itself.
Um,
Not coming to the building.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's only a 5 foot high fence, or maybe if you had to do something like that, you'd actually just remove a panel of fence. So you could get it in there and then redo it. You obviously wouldn't be doing that while the kids were there, right? So it'd be closed off. So typically I've seen not so much of this type of a use, but when they have a fence, they'll just remove that panel, do what they need to do, and then replace put it all back. It's all screwed together.
Or they go over it.
Yeah, or like what's that, or they could go over it because it's only 5 feet. It might be easier for them to just with a small loader, just go right over it and then break it into place.
Given the proximity to the neighbors, maybe that activity would happen in that parking area. We'll get followed this.
Sorry, go ahead, Jim. Yes.
I have a couple of questions. I'm assuming, you don't say on your site, on your request, you don't designate this unit should you designate this unit as R3 dash whatever it is? On our request. This, we say is, the modification, but modification of what unit? We should probably say that.
It's R3A.
Could you also show me, or just point out where the doors will be? I see the ones in the front. How about the sides and the back and so on? Can you point out where the doors will be?
Do you mind if I show the
Yeah,
tenant rendering?
That would be helpful.
Yes, yeah, I think you can. move
Wait,
that.
if you want to stop sharing.
Let me just, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Anyway, if you'd be so kind as to send a screenshot when you're done, just to make sure I don't lose anything in translation,
Sure.
but I do think it's pretty clear.
So,
While you're doing that.
It's just a little bit easier to see the.
Do you plan on having any gates in that chain link fence area? The play area? Can you show the gates?
I think
Yeah.
that was my question.
Yeah. so-
I don't think there's one.
I'm gonna show this one. I think it's helpful. You agree?
Yeah,
That is helpful. And if we could maybe zoom in, start at the bottom if you want, wherever you want, and then zoom in and just talk through it.
Okay.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, we're on.
So can
When we
you see,
talk about the gates, huh?
you want to talk about the geese? Okay.
Well, I mean, that egress that you're showing on the bottom. That's okay, Keep going out in the landscape, I know how that works, that's.
yeah, well, it looks like there's a walk here, and I'm guessing that's probably a building code issue for us.
There.
Yeah, so it's an exit only, like.
Probably have to continue the sidewalk.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what this came from the architect, so, but a little bit of a disadvantage. So it looks like they extended that down to here, so that would just, I'm guessing, similar to, other uses, it's just if there was ever a fire or an emergency, they had to get out, it's an egress only gate, not an entrance. For, again, for your concern, you don't want people going in there, grabbing their kit and going, you want that to be organized, but if there was ever like an emergency and they had to get out of there for whatever reason, that is what that gate appears to be for.
I'm sorry, sir, I can't really hear you. Could you tell me a little bit more better what you're talking about?
Yep, I apologize.
Thank you.
So that egress gate right there,
That's egress from where?
it would be off of this sidewalk area, right? So if somebody was in this, what's labeled zone 7, if they're in that play area, they're fully fenced in. If you scroll back up this way, the way in and out of that fenced area on the sidewalk over here is right to that door. That gate, excuse me.
So you're saying there's an entrance to the building or the entrance to the
No, the play area, so the entrance.
play area?
Yep, to the building, it looks like they've got their, they just scroll up, you can see that the doors on the side. Kind of here, another one down, down in here.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I see it. I really have a question as to whether or not, if you got a bunch of kids in that play area and you're depending on them to go over to the building and out a small gate, whether that's adequate or, I would think that you might want to have a larger gate, about center where, so the gates would be locked, but could be opened and all, and for egress out of there. Kids will panic and they'll jam up too quickly. Now, could you also show me the back entrances and all and side entrances to the building itself? I can see the front ones, the three in the front, but what about the back and the sides?
You want to start here and we'll just. scroll.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of going off the architectural plan here. So it looks like there's a spot out right here. Corner of the building. There's another one up mid building. And a little bit further over here.
That's on the side. Now, what about the front and the back?
Yeah, so the back, you can. There's an area to that sidewalk right
Only
here.
one.
Yep.
And anything on the other side?
Well, there's also some into the little other play area.
Yeah, we're just talking about the building. I thought was what the question was.
Yep.
There's 3 or 4 of them there.
My understanding is that the way that this is designed is that every classroom has its own exit out to the play area, so that they move the classrooms out to the play area. Without having to go, they have an internal hallway, but they only use that for drop off and pick
And
up.
what about the other side, Julia?
On this
The other
side,
side of the building,
You mean here, right?
oh,
to the right, yeah.
this whole R3B? Or just
I think probably. over
Smaller
here,
play
maybe.
area.
this smaller play area? Yeah, so on this side,
Is
when we
actually-
talked about this, they come out the actual back, right? They don't have their own exit on that
It's
side.
actually on the side, if you look at the, just looking at the architectural plan, out of the small classrooms, there are doors that go out onto that sidewalk. There's actually a sidewalk on that side up against the building as well. If you look at the renderings, that plan they have there is, it's,
Not correct.
yeah, if you look at the, oh, that's how they have it drawn, so maybe that is how they do it.
As a person who has spent a lot of time in daycares lately, they have their own. They're gonna have specific codes specific to emergency exits, emergency routes. For each classroom, depending on the number of students and things like that. So I want to discuss this, but going forward, I also know, I've been in a lot of outdoor playgrounds and daycares, and the gates are, they use the gates that they have to use, you know, that's, I've experienced a lot of that.
Building code will.
Yes, yes.
So no, it looks like the classrooms on the right are gonna go out the back and then wrap around.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's what it looks to me. They come out that way.
That comes through there.
I know.
When we were discussing this before, that was a question that came up about circulation around the back, and particularly making sure that, you know, in an emergency that these kids were able to go out, and that's why the egress is back here. It's also like toddler and infant, so not many children, first of all, and then second of all, yeah, they're moving too much.
And then, John, you have the second egress gate up on the right.
That's correct. That's the second emergency egress.
You have the one that's towards the front and then another one at that end.
Again, that's only in case of emergencies. That's not one that's planned to be used.
So one comment on the exterior doors, as it looks like they open up into what we're labeling as sidewalk. And it looks, at least from this drawing, and I know it's not to scale perhaps, but I'm kind of putting on my construction I had, I guess. It looks like those doors, they open out, because that's code, I'm sure, for this. But it doesn't look like there's enough room to walk around the doors. So I wanted to know if there's need or requirements or code where you have a walk aisle that's then being, you know, if you have a 5-foot walk aisle and that door has a 36-inch swing, you know, where even a 6-foot walk aisle, you're still not getting clearance. Is that an issue, Wayne? I think, Wayne, this might be to you. Is that an issue, that doors are opening up into a small walk zone?
Honestly, Mr. Chair, I'm not positive from a building standpoint. Normally, the things that I'm dealing with, you don't have the tight restrictions like a fence right up against it. Normally, my understanding of AAB is that you have to have a minimum of 36 inches to get around something, but I don't know how, that's an immovable object. I'm not really sure how a swinging door qualifies. I'm not positive. That I think that's more of a question for the building commissioner that we would want to ask.
Okay. I just, I want, it'd be helpful if we have, I just want to make sure that the drawings we have are compliant and that you don't have to come back to us.
That's a good question. I think we gotta run that before we finish and we'll
Yes.
just talk to the building.
Yes,
Yeah, and the architect, I'm pretty sure that.
And I'm not dictating what I want here, I'm just,
Yeah.
So we've talked about a lot thus far, so I just want to pause for a second. Let's see, it's 8:20. We've had, I think, a really helpful discussion thus far. We've talked about site traffic patterns, pedestrian patterns. There's been a number of comments on engineering. We've talked about lighting and landscaping. I'm getting the sense that we may need a little more back and forth and then maybe another hearing to finalize this perhaps. I don't know. I just want to get your sense of where you guys are at and what your schedules are.
I think if
Does
it's,
that make sense? Does that feel right?
yeah, that's fine for us. I mean, we can get some of these answers, to you, so you can, decide. I mean, I thought you brought up some good points tonight.
It's helpful to have a nice, clear set of drawings, right? That they can be presented and then we can vote on it.
Yeah.
It's just hard to have, to have all the different conditions and say, I mean, has to change this, you have to change this and back.
I agree.
Yeah, we'll incorporate Wayne's comments that we grew up and read and just make sure that the site plan fully aligns with just the fencing. A lot of times we don't focus on that within the play area, but we'll make sure that that's aligned with the site plan and the architectural plan,
So we'll talk to the building inspector in the meantime, he has some clarity on that issue.
So I'd like to spend the rest of our time focusing on comments that can help with improving what needs to be improved, not necessarily for the final sort of review, but in sort of larger picture or, anything to help these guys as they work through the next couple of weeks. I think that would be helpful. So are these additional renderings that are we looking at?
Yep, they're the, as well, attached as well.
Okay.
So these are the other, you were asked about visuals, and trying, having a hard time.
And I think we could get into explanation of this, but so I understand it, this rendering and the previous architectural rendering, are those planning to be submitted as the design package itself, or are those just for our understanding of conditions?
I think it was just for the understanding of the conditions.
So the final item will be that site plan that we've been reviewing and discussing all night.
That is correct.
Okay, so then
These were submitted though as well.
understood. And as we change site plans, it's that site plan's the master site plan, right?
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to make sure we have our North Star on the thing that we want to make sure that is consistent and compliant.
Correct. Yeah, that's ultimately the master plan that was approved that you wanted to make sure it carries on and forward.
Yeah, I can clarify that a little bit.
Yeah.
The way we're doing it. We have a site plan that of course is evolved periodically. And there's been additions made to it. We would. At this point, it's almost cumbersome to, go through an entire site plan each time. So what we do is we have replacement pages printed. And then we have what we created, the board may remember about a year or two ago. We created what we call a living master plan. That is updated as well for quick reference. And then for the detailed reference for the site plan. So anything, any adjustments that are done, that would be part of the final submittal.
Good. My comments on this are just to make sure we all understand what North Star is and that we're working towards that final product. I don't know when it's gonna be. Yeah, but it sounds like we do have a good.
Yeah, well, yeah, so we have an idea of what the square footage is, what's been used up, what's available. In this case, like the last couple of projects, we've reduced, there's been a reduction of square footage, so we try to keep that all. That's why it's a living master plan.
Okay. To the board, any other thoughts at this point or questions for clarity?
Can we look at a view of the back of the building?
From this type of rendering or from the site?
Looks like,
Give me 1 second.
yeah,
I just want to open the nice looking one. Okay. Reshare. That's in the PDF for you. Back of the building. Here,
Yeah, a speed bump, what's the thing at north of the speed bump?
It's a transformer.
Heat transformer.
Yeah, it's existing.
And just in general, how does the activity behind the building change with the, I mean, there's not gonna be any employee parking or anything, right?
No, there's really.
Kids coming out the back door to the playground.
Yeah, I think the only activity you really have back there is, you know, the door that was located here to get to those play areas there. I think that's really the activity. There's no active parking back in that area. You know, except there's a loading zone, but it's not a heavy loading use.
The early iterations of that project, there was some activity that was relocated and back there, so the applicants addressed,
That's correct.
cleared everything out of there that caused staff concern.
Yeah, through the process, we had parking back in that
Yeah,
area,
right,
more
right.
activity, and that was one of the concerns we wanted to eliminate based on the concerns we heard.
garbage was our biggest of vehicles backing up in there, so. Now they have to have wheeled garbage and they have to bring it out up into this area in order for the garbage to come. So there's no interaction between a dump truck and a fence and build a
I
building.
think this is, I think, the third
At least,
version of
yeah.
this after they've been through.
Yeah, we've got some great comments to staff through the process, so I think it's, you know, come a long ways.
Can you show the front of the building and just highlight any changes to crosswalks or accessible spaces and anything like that?
Yeah, I think the big change was we've got a designated area here for the drop off area. And then we also just wanted to have a much larger, just a more visible crossing here. That was smaller before. I think it might have just been a 5 or 6 foot crossing. Now you can see it's quite substantial, just so it's very clear and calls attention to it.
So to confirm, there's no lighting changes, there's no parking space number changes?
Well, there's a slight reduction in parking based
To
on.
accommodate the larger.
Yeah. But we were still over our parking requirement through the changes with the reduction of square footage and whatnot, so we had a couple parking spaces to give. So we lost a couple back in this area over here, obviously making that much wider. I think it loses space there as well.
Was there any change to the number of handicap spaces?
No, the handicap spaces would be dictated by a code requirement, so we are not eliminating.
So along the side, along this large walk aisle.
Yep.
Before there was 3 and now there's still 3?
That's correct. I'll confirm that when we come back, but that's correct.
And the numbers in the
Yeah.
areas pointing out are the same. So
Yeah, when we were here last time, I think you had us add a couple of stalls up that way back in 2022.
Were there any parking spaces which would now be were there any handicap spaces which would now be under the playground areas?
No, again, this was kind of intended to come.
Yeah,
come
That's
that way.
what I thought, but I do ask questions for the record sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's
Oh,
a good
I'm
question.
gonna ask that question again. I think there were some on that side.
Well, I think when we came last time, you had asked us to actually move some of the spaces back in this side. That was back in 2022. I think we'd worked through some of those comments that the board had at that time.
Do you want to look at the previous plan? What is the red on it?
I think that's Lindsay. Oh,
It is now.
no. Yeah, can we just review the previous plans, because I think.
Yep.
There might be handicap spaces that are now under.
Yeah, I mean, this is.
I'm not sure they matter. It's just.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we got it on record.
Yeah, no, again, when we came back for this previously, the intent was not to have any, really anything there. But again, one of the comments that we did have is you wanted us to add a couple over here, which is a good comment at the time, and those have been added and are actually constructed.
So I think these two are the ones that they were concerned about.
Yeah, in there. Yeah, but sorry, I was getting confused. Those are actually located on this side. Part of this, there's no access there.
And so
So there was 4. That's what you're saying, right?
No,
can we
No,
just
there
clear
it
this?
looks like there were 4, and now there's gonna be 2, but for 2 that's going away. All right.
Can you just point them out, Julie, again? The two right there, yeah.
Yeah. So these were the 2 that we were confused by. Which I think should be in red.
Yeah, I don't think that you'd want those near that aisle because they're supposed to be near the door and the doors are no longer proposed over there. So those, that's
We
eliminated.
agree, we're just making sure we understand what the proposed changes are, that's all.
Got it, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's not appropriate based on the proposal.
But
Right.
is it, I believe what the applicant's saying is that I believe that currently over by F-45, the gym building, there are actually 3 now. Maybe they're not, is there another one, I think?
We will, we'll come back on the plan.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that the stalls
Clarify.
are shown.
Because I remember what you're talking about when we talked about adding another handicap space on the left side of the plan that's showing right now. And I
Yeah.
believe there's a 3rd one.
Yeah,
But that's-
I will confirm that. The one thing I remember distinctly is you had a good comment about relocating some stalls over there, and I will make sure that shows up in this plan that we come back, so it's clear to your point
Yep.
as to.
And as we approach, as we look at the conversation of where and how many handicap spots is dictated by code, right?
Yeah.
Is there special permit? Criteria, does a special permit for this, or there have any discussion about number of park handicap spots? Or anything like that?
For example, like, could you request more legally? Is that
So
what you're
for
asking?
the history of this site, we have a lot of site,
Yeah.
and manual, we
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
special permit itself.
Has there been net elimination of?
I think we have parking space requirements for this site. Do we have handicap space requirements? for this site?
Typically, that's building code. You have to have so many spaces per so many
Okay,
parking
so it's
spaces.
drip code.
Correct. It's typically not in a town code. It's typically a building code that will dictate how many handicap stalls you need. And it's based on the number of parking spaces that you have.
Again, not asking for any handicap parking spaces immediately adjacent to the playground.
It's making sure it's correctly done.
We'll go through and double check for the next meeting
Hey,
as well.
Julia, can I steal the screen for 1 second?
Yep.
We get to see his drawing again.
To answer the question that was asked. Did my screen come up or not? Did I do something wrong? Hold on.
No, we're still looking at it.
Over there.
Yeah, the spaces have been, they're located up, and I was just out there earlier today. That is where they are.
And so we should just leave them there.
Yeah.
Revise the plan, that's what I thought. And you have 2 more down, so to the front. On the left side, the front of the building is 4 there.
Yeah.
And I think there's more even as you go further.
There
west.
are, yeah.
Can we just make sure the site plan gets updated while we're doing this? With
Yeah,
those items, because that's not consistent with what I'm seeing here with what should have been.
it'll be on this plan set. We will update that.
Thank you. Okay, board, any other questions, thoughts, comments at this end?
Thanks, Lynn.
Annette, anything?
Not right now.
Okay, I'm gonna take public comment now. And we'll start in the room first, and then we'll go, digital online. Any public comments for tonight? For those joining us online, any public comments for tonight, either raise your hand or feel free to speak up. And I'll leave public comment open for, the remainder of this, if, any comments would like to be provided. Okay, I think we had a pretty robust conversation. Do you guys need any clarity on this from town staff or board?
No, we appreciate your comments. They were great. And Dwayne, thank you for a thorough review as always. Appreciate your comments. I think it's clear what we need to do. So thank you.
And I'll just, for a few reminders, a lot of our conversation was about traffic, pedestrian walking. I just want to, Wayne, I just also want to take a look at site lighting. And the making sure we have landscape matched correctly and all that. I think there's some, and we'll definitely blame the architects. I think there was some discrepancy between the couple of.
Always
blame the architects. They're not on, are they?
No, that's why we blame them.
Oh, yeah. I'll blame them even if they're not. So it's not that. But yes, we could just work towards have consistency. That would be very helpful.
Definitely.
And I think so, the next time you guys come back as well, I apologize, we're not used to having people in person present. So there is some things we forgot to explain to you because we're so used to everyone coming on online. So we'll make sure to catch up before the next meeting and make sure that we have a good way of presenting to you guys.
We just thought it might be a lot of questions. We thought it might have been easier if we were here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, we love having you guys in person, but the hybrid aspect, I think next time we'll just have you bring your computer as well and share your screen and go through it.
All right, can you guys figure out a date where you want to continue to?
So the next, we have the 25th, which really doesn't leave, as we found out, doesn't leave a lot of time for you guys to get everything ready. But I know with their, it's up to you and what the board feels. I know with Wayne's review time also and staff's 2 weeks is pretty tight with this. The next one would be May 9th. I don't know if that's, is that comfortable?
Yeah. Jim, do you think that's okay, May 9th? Because we gotta get.
Can we keep it on the, what'd you say, April 25th? Was that the next date?
We gotta get them to,
That's not possible.
get some, I don't see us getting what we need to get done. John's got a lot, we need the architect to reconcile the differences between the engineer plan and the architectural plan. Because I only want to come back one more time, so I think May 9th is fine.
If that's
I would say
okay,
May
yeah, it works. I'll speak to the
Not
tenant.
holding it
I think
right
they're
now.
mainly minor changes, to be honest with you. I think there's just
Yeah,
needs.
but we need to have them
But
up.
that's
I think that, Bill, I think that's the best date.
Yeah, I'm not gonna allow the eight.
Otherwise, we'd be changing it again. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to rush. I want,
Yep.
we need to have enough time to review this
Yep.
and basically, stamp it, and then we need to have time to review it before we show up at night.
Yep.
I really don't like getting things the night before. I like to have a week or so to review myself, so I'm fine with that. What is the date?
Well, if we go May 9th, and that would mean the material, typically for weekend, we like May 2nd or so.
Yeah, that's
First
no
part of May,
problem.
that's no
That's no
problem.
problem.
But that's for the board review. Wayne needs some time to review it. I think the target of April 25th sounds very reasonable to get it.
That's cool.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds
So if
good.
you have everything done by April 25th,
Exactly.
then that gives us 2 weeks to
And,
review. and go back.
This particular, site plan, we've been working close and if there's, questions in between, of course, you always can work with us. You guys have been great from, getting this petition, keeping it current and all, so. But I think that, May 9th sounds like a.
So Wayne, did you follow along? Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, it does. What I'm not clear of, and maybe this is a question to the applicant, are they gonna be submitting supplemental plans in addition to just the 1 or 2 site plans they sent this time? It sounded like John had mentioned drainage and architecture and so forth. Lighting and stuff. Is that gonna be submitted as well? Or is that gonna be submitted later?
We will do our best to get some of that drainage updated and whatnot. I think the easy stuff to do is what we talked about and getting the site plan type.
Yeah.
I'll take a look to see if we've got enough time to update and have enough information to update the, the drainage and some of that other stuff.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me if it came later. It's just, I'm trying to anticipate what's coming in for review, that's all. Obviously, the site plan changes, to Jim's point that we talked about were very minor. I agree. It's just, if there's other things rolling in, I know we did talk about landscaping, we talked about lighting. We haven't seen that, revised plans on that. And if those are coming in, they just may take a few more days to look at. That's all.
You know, one of the things, John, that we've tried to institute when we're submitting plans for either, you know, second or third iteration even, clouding the plans, you know, and the changes really can speed it up quite a bit, you know, and then you can just knock it off on the final, you know, but don't you agree, Wayne?
Yeah,
Clouding changes.
yeah, that would be helpful. Either, you know, maybe submitting a final set of plans and then anything that's changed on a separate plan, just cloud, hey, this is what we changed based on our discussion. That way we have a clean record copy and a markup, and that way it takes a short amount of time to look at.
Yeah.
Just like you did with I think the drawing on the overlay was helpful as well.
Yeah, so just to
Very
confirm,
helpful.
clouding changes from tonight, not from the approved, but from what we had submitted, just from today.
I
you
would
can
think
see
so,
it.
yeah. Yeah,
I would
from
say,
my perspective, yes.
if it was me in the future, when I submitted, you know, plans and they're amending an approved site plan, it speeds it up, you know, so it was.
We can do that.
And then I think also moving forward on the other plans that we need in the future, such as the lighting plan, to have those changes clouded. So one with clouded changes and then one that's like a nice clean plan that we can look at in the future.
Nice clean back final.
Yeah,
Yes.
with no clouds.
No clouds,
Yeah.
I won't make jokes. Okay. I will make a motion to continue the hearing to May 9th.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor by hand? It's 5-0 bill to continue to May 9th. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Thank you for the presentation. Also, I was paying attention to the back and forth the last handful of weeks, particularly on the changes on the north side, and I just want to thank everyone for a very collaborative discussion on that. I know there's a lot of inputs and design changes can be hard when you have a lot of different considerations and inputs and perspectives. But thank you for going through all that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Did we close the line?
It was
Did we go over the line? Did we close it?
it wasn't a hearing, it was a major minor determination.
Did we? Thanks.
Well, minor.
Yeah, if we didn't do
We gotta get the architect.
Yeah, we need to talk to the board of inspector and see how we can work that walk.
What I'm seeing. We'll take it to item 4. Item 4 says, I'll just read it and then Billy can explain. In your minutes, request for direction by planning.
Thank you.
Yeah, well. With our home base,
It's at the Fowler Middle School.
yeah.
Any directions there?
Oh, yeah, turn left.
He walked right into that.
Yes.
Oh.
I was slow on the uptake tonight. No, it's not really direction at the point, because I already did it. It's my fault. But, what happened was we had to, Bill, this is, our trade shop,
Yeah,
okay, we have to resequence the warrant, which I did, it's all done, but we want the ABBA to
Just call it
go
ABBA.
before the trade shop, because otherwise it is, can be unpleasant. And then I think the ABBA is gonna be fine, everybody. We've been to all the boards and committees, except Thursday is the last one, right, Chris, you're going to,
Cultural Council.
Everybody, all the boards liked it. And as far as I know, anyway. But, so the resequencing is so that the trade shop will be the last item. If for some reason, there's this bad thing happens and it didn't pass, we would yank the trade shop.
If we have the voting time.
Well, that's why I said, let's put the first and put the trade shop last, because if it is, we don't want to end up.
Those votes get delayed sometimes, so I hope it works out.
It's a motion, so thank you for the direction. on that one. And, but that was the thing, we just. It was just, when I read it, I found a couple of little, you probably saw
And the
it.
reason to do that is because if the first one fails, then we made existing trade shops illegal.
That is correct.
We pass this up.
And then we have to go around to everybody's trade shop with a closed sign on it, and they hate
We
us.
don't want to do that.
Right.
There another strategy? There's no way to conjoin these even in the meeting or anything like that?
Not without risking failure.
Yeah,
No,
I just know votes, I know Bill and I talked about this before, and it's a good strategy, it's just, I'm realizing now that votes get delayed.
What do you mean by that?
So we vote with a paper vote,
Yeah.
it takes time to it gets counted, but at the same time, we're presenting on
The next
the
thing,
next
yeah.
items, and then you don't know how far you get along with those next items. Until a vote is counted.
I will say the last meeting, they turned those paper votes around.
Those Boy Scouts are fast.
Those, yes, and all of the women who help out, they are,
We'll have a word with the Boy Scouts. out of
they,
it.
yeah, they,
We need some fast movement on.
I think compared to a lot of other towns and how they are able to turn around. That's also because unfortunately, we just get a small turnout, you know, we hope that everyone comes to town meeting and makes their voices heard, but
It's a lot of
That's
people.
why we got the tattoo article. Go for the turnout.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Um,
so-
But yeah, it's, but that's true. There's a huge difference between our past, which have, you know, between 80 and 95 people. And other town meetings like the one where Maynard Crossing, where you know, you've had a few hundred. That's a different turnaround time. So I understand your concern.
So we should yank the tattoo article, the lower turnout.
Yeah. right.
We never want lower turnout for record.
Okay, sorry, that was a bad joke.
We want all the people.
Okay, turnout. Okay, so for planning updates, I'll first turn it to Assistant Town Planner Julia for any planning updates first.
We are still waiting on an application for 2 Powder Mill. I know some of you are asking about that project. It's going through conservation.
Sorry, Wayne, are you done?
Sorry, this is riveting, but I'm gonna take off unless you guys need me.
Thank you.
Sorry, Julia.
I thought it was Zoom.
You know, you could have just done a nice silent goodbye.
You could have ghosted it.
Yeah.
Bill just put me to sleep, sorry. So these,
That's not nice about our board members, don't say that.
Thanks, Lou.
I'll see you guys.
Good night,
Bye, Wayne.
So yes, as I was saying, 2 Powder Mill is going through conservation. We are encouraging them to get in front of you as soon as possible. And you know, if any of you would like to have further discussions on, we've only seen the conservation plan so far, but I encourage you to follow along on that process. And then we do have our Powder Mill corridor, but I'll let you go for
No,
that
keep
because
going, keep going. Tell
Well-
about your little kayak thing coming up.
well, we haven't signed that yet, so we're gonna wait. That's not
That's a teaser.
an announcement.
Yeah, Powder Mill Corridor focus groups are meeting, Thursday night. Bob is gonna be. Hopefully, you'll be available to help and we'll get some stuff going. I'm sure you've been following all the articles I've been sending you on the MBTA communities.
And the videos.
We go. So we have to be creative. We'll do it. We'll do it.
But as a town, we are in a very good position compared to a lot of our other neighbors
Right.
with the Powder Mill corridor.
And
The focus group on Thursday, is Bob attending that as a planning board?
I'm looking at him as kind of like a bouncer for the meeting.
He's helping
coming in
out.
there
Yeah.
to keep-
Because I'm attending as a citizen.
You are,
Am I a citizen or am I a planning board? member?
whatever MEPC said, you may be an agent in there. But, no, I think in general, they wanted as many planning board sprinkled throughout. There's gonna be moderators.
I have my conservation, so we just needed more, we need more help.
Nice. Good one.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
I'm gonna be also watching my 3 children simultaneously, so it's gonna be awesome.
So lots of
It's good for them. You just read them the Jane Jacobs book. Now they should be all into this.
They are.
And that's pretty much I got. I think that's I think I hit everything that has been going on ours. And the only thing I need left, I have 2 sets of minutes, if you guys.
Yeah, we'll get to those in a second. You, would you like to share, or would you like me to speak? Would you have- Unfortunately, Bob has sent me a note that he needs to resign from the planning board due to his own time considerations. And he did put that in writing, so I can say that it's just time considerations. And I'm sorry to see Bob leave. And I think he's been a great member and a great contributor to this board in the town. And I just wanted to thank you for all you've done, and I hope you can find other opportunities to come back to either the planning board or other committees in town in the future.
Oh, I'll find some.
No, Julia, can you help? I don't want to skip Bob away.
What?
Never mind.
I think, okay, no, never mind.
Yeah.
I think to make that public record is that he's for time constraints only, not throwing up his papers and running out the door. Cause you like us, Steph. Is that's what you're trying to say, right?
I'll clarify.
Okay.
I retired in January, and before I retired, I was offered a job with the New England Water Pollution Control Commission, which is a federal commission that deals with water pollution issues and drinking water issues in New England and New York. And it's actually, I've been working 2 months. And it's, for me, it's been a dream job. And it's like, I just love it. And, but it doesn't entail travel. And so what happens is I need to go to meetings in Vermont. I need to go to meetings in New York. And what I've encountered is I need to miss planning board meetings because I can't count on doing it virtually. Because when I'm traveling, my time's not my own. And so I just thought it really, I could see the handwriting on the wall that I'm gonna miss half the meetings, and that's not really fair. So I thoroughly enjoy the board. Great way to spend every other Tuesday night. So if anybody's listening.
Yeah, all of us.
Yeah,
We're an empty room right now.
I know, and that it's been coming here for a long time. And children just stepped right in, a lot of experience, so now we'll all suggest to people we know that they become an alternate on the planning board.
Well, Bob, you will be sorely missed, but I'm
Yeah.
glad
Indeed.
having your dream job, that's a very good job, very cool, and I'm glad you're happy there, and,
What is your last meeting? Is,
what's your last meeting?
We haven't set a date yet.
I'm flexible.
Whenever he's next in Vermont. he'll just-
Yeah, no, it's New York, let's go to New York. Yeah, and it's the way my schedule works, it's like sometimes, you know, they could come to me on Monday and say, we want you to go on
Friday, yeah.
Tuesday, you know, because something's blowing up. It's interesting, there are like 150 people in the organization, and I am the only attorney, which is kind of pretty cool, I have no one talking to.
Nice.
Still come back here on Tuesday. Night.
Great.
see him on that.
And so the reason I asked is just, I think it would be really helpful for, since you have been, very useful in this conversation with Manor Crossing, if you want to just wait until and close out that conversation at May 9th. If you're willing, able and willing.
Oh, so what Julia is referencing is that since we opened up a hearing
Yes.
for Manor Crossing tonight, it's helpful to have a consistent board to continue at least through that. I'm actually hoping Bob can stay on a little bit longer until we find another member.
Yeah,
So my shot is a little bit longer than that.
that's my minimum.
I can definitely do that, but I'm recused from voting on that project because I'm considered a voter.
Oh,
So I never voted
Okay.
on it, I participate in the discussion.
well, thank you for your thoughtful concerns on it.
And
I
then
appreciate
we have to vote.
it. Good to know. I forgot about that.
Just out of curiosity, what are the terms? When does your term end?
It's, what is the term?
Never.
I'll let you know. Hold on.
You're a lifer.
Jim and I are up for
Yeah.
renewal in June.
Yeah, so he probably doesn't.
Yeah. I think Bob has another year. And
Well, Bob was an alternate.
You just got both reinstated. I don't remember. Yes.
So Bob is 2024. Yeah, Chris, you're this June. Jim, you're this June.
this June,
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Bill is also 24, and then Natalie and Annette are 25. So we have them all 20, so. You can't all leave at once.
do you need any instruction on searching for new members? How does this work?
I have a lot of ideas.
You do?
We,
Call me tomorrow.
I just texted someone.
we have had interested people ask to join the planning board in the past, so we are
All of those
starting,
got them because we use, we always
we are
stay,
starting with them, but yeah,
always work in.
So for the hundreds of people that are gonna watch this video tonight,
yes.
what is the process to join the board?
The process to join a board like this would be to send a letter of interest to myself and the town administrator. They're gonna want a little, if you're not already on the board. You give a little background about what you're interested in and what you bring to the, what you can bring to the board and a little bit about yourself. It's almost like a TV. Then typically what I've done, if it's a new member altogether, I ask them to come to a board meeting or two, make sure. They have an idea about, what's involved. And then they will go to the select board or the select board meeting and they're interviewed typically, every board member would have a couple of questions usually. We try to bring in our new members, excuse me, as alternates. And I think everybody on this board probably has started as, actually, I think all of you have been alternates first. My farm system's working. And so that would be how we basically have does, but you reach out to me and Greg Johnson and we'll go from there. If it's somebody, now, in the case for Bob, like Bob's resignation, I will reluctantly send along, I already did, to the clerk and to and to town administrator, but in Bob's case, we're just willing to stay a little bit in case. And that, if that is, you desire to move up, you send a letter saying I'd like to go full time. And then they're not, you don't start, somebody's already in the process, they usually will just, ask you to come to a board meeting. And sometimes, if you're not needed, they'll tell me ahead of time. If they know you, and that's about it. And if anybody out there, of course. I'm sure it's
Me
all
and
of us.
Chris,
But we do have a lot of really cool board openings. Pretty cool.
one of them being the master plan implementation committee.
Oh, we got that.
Another one being the community preservation committee.
That was the next item I wanted to talk about. So let's just add to that.
Way to take my thunder, Natalie.
You wanna talk about this, or do you want me to talk? about
No,
it?
I can talk about it. So I've been on the community preservation committee, which is great. I just, I need a break. I'm paralyzed. I'm pulling a bob and I just need, it's not gonna work for the immediate future. It's a great committee and I'd like to be on it again someday. But, a member of the planning board needs to be a representative.
How many members are on the board? This, the CPC?
I think
Oh,
it's-
those are
Million.
That's what I said. I think it's either 7 or 9.
Yeah.
And there's like two, there's
Are
like,
you on it?
yeah, but I'm a representative of a different board.
Okay. Which one?
Can't you dump them and use ours?
Isn't Rick? how's he-
Well, what's the other board?
Actually, no, that's housing trust.
No, Rick is actually a member at large.
Rick Lefferts?
Mhm.
Can Rick Lefferts be the housing person and then?
No, he's not on the authority.
Oh.
However, if we get new members on the housing authority,
Oh.
maybe I can convince them to do it.
And then you could be the planning board.
Then I can be the planner.
Okay, well, if we.
That's an option.
Okay, but if we could play a little,
There are
Can I
10
say-
members,
it's 10?
10.
Jesus.
10?
That's a lot.
State law.
It's a great board. Jim knows he's on it.
Oh, sorry, there's 9. There's a mistake. There's someone twice.
Is it me?
No, it's Annalisa is accidentally put twice
Oh.
and I cut her out of it.
She's not even on.
I know, it said 11, so I was like, oh, minus Annalisa, and then I found her name again in the list.
She created the list.
She just put herself in.
Right. Well, something to consider going forward.
Okay, so we need a new representative from the planning board. Do you have a resignation sort of date you're thinking about?
I already tried to, but it hasn't worked, so, maybe when we get a new alternate, we can, make things happen.
Well, what was your plan at first?
This, yeah, you can drive the bus.
You're giving me a drop dead date.
If you want, it's your choice. I'm giving you agency to make a decision.
I would like to be done after town meeting, when we vote on the CPC articles, I would like to not be going to their meetings anymore.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so what does that mean? Is there a statutory requirement? Is this a town bylaw requirement? What is it?
many posts that we need vacancies within that committee, so.
Yeah, we should have it. I mean, I think, and Bill, what other committee do you represent on there?
Housing authority.
Can you dump them?
Well, he just said, if he gets more housing
Yeah.
authority
So,
members.
and
No, I'm sorry.
Housing authority.
I think 2 things. One is the other goal for Natalie to get off at that moment is because then the next cycle begins. And so she
Mhm.
doesn't want to get
Yeah.
involved in the next cycle.
That's exactly what I'm asking.
So as long as we get someone, at least there, it can be vacant, but as long as there's someone on there before the next application cycle
You want
starts
licensed
in,
members.
yeah, in the fall.
And the other thing is, it's nice to have somebody that's familiar with it a little bit going in. You know, what's available and how, particularly how it dovetails with the kind of work that we're doing. You know, and stuff too, like Natalie you had a good jump start on that, right? I mean.
Well, not really, but it was a pretty steep learning curve.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've got the parameters set on
Yeah.
this, so I'll talk with you two offline and we'll figure out how to approach this and what to do next. But yeah, so please, yeah, send your resignation in
I will.
when you want, and then our goal would be to fill this position this summer.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
And just to remind everyone, when I was made an alternate member of the planning board during the pandemic over Zoom, I believe at that meeting, I was also told that it was my turn to serve on the CPC and I immediately had to start serving. So I'm just saying that seems like a viable option for whoever I go.
She was voluntold.
I was voluntold to be on the CPC.
Was I the chair then? I wasn't the chair.
No, it was Greg.
Okay, all right, that's been fine.
And I believe the bill made sort of yay noises in the background. So I'm just saying, it seems like that's.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for all your
Thank you
service on that.
for serving on that, Natalie.
So, good
Algae.
minutes,
I had one of those.
I got minutes.
Yes.
28th, look good to me.
I'll make a motion to approve the planning board minutes from February 28th.
I'll second that.
Give me a second. Any discussion, clarity? All in favor to approve the meeting minutes from February 28th? 5-0. Your approval, Bill? And I'll just make the motion to approve the minutes for March 14th. Third, discussion. Yes, in discussion comes next, yes.
So I have a comment on page 3, the committee member, the addresses of the committee members are listed, and I know we enter that in the video and stuff, but it's not usual that we actually put it in the minutes.
You following along, Bill?
Yeah. Do you want to strike them?
I would think so, because I don't want to put everybody's address in every minute.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of people.
Well, we can amend, yeah, that's a good point, right? We can amend that.
Yeah, in this case, you know, they are representing the community tree committee. So they are clearly live in town. And they don't, there's some statutory.
Yeah, I think it depends. If they are providing public comment as a citizen, they have to identify themselves, and the way that they are legally have to do that is through stating your address to show your stake, where you're to try to prove where you're coming from. But if you're showing that you're representing from a different committee that can potentially take that place.
Yeah, just strike it, certainly.
Other comments, changes? Yes, Tom.
On page 4, the open space and recreation plan approval. In the second line, beginning with the word plan. It should read, I believe, planners for the next 7 years and is required to qualify for funding from Department of Conservation Services. Is that?
So Julie, the way it reads now is that this plan is for the next 7 years and is required to qualify for Department of Conservation Services.
Funding, yeah,
Funding?
To qualify for.
funding from DCS.
Okay, so we don't mean that.
If we put all funding, does that mean we get all their funding? That's in the minutes? Is that how it
All the
works?
funding, yeah. Well, currently we're in a hold with select boards. That's not moving forward. We're working on it.
Any other discussions? Okay, all in favor to approve the minutes
As discussed.
as discussed,
Amended, yeah, right.
5-0.
Thank you.
Approval. Thank you.
Awesome.
Mike, thanks for joining us tonight. Would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Mike Stevens, and I've been a resident here for close to 30 years. And as some of you may know, I have elected to myself to run for the select board. And so I'm just in the process of trying to learn as much as possible. So having had previous experience many years ago for planning board, it's good to come back and just see firsthand the level of detail that you guys have to deal with, and I appreciate that.
It's riveting, isn't it?
Say again?
Is it riveting?
Oh, it can be riveting. Yeah.
So you were on the planning board previously?
I wasn't on the planning board, but I came along to previous meetings while we had my wife and I came.
Oh, great.
That was a long time ago.
Glad to have you tonight.
So if we all vote against you in the election, will you, and you lose, will you join the planning board?
Let me consider that over now.
Much better gig.
Bill would know, so. Thanks, Mike. Anything else, guys? Team, anything else? Jim, any
No,
final thoughts?
Would you like me to
Yeah.
do my thing?
Unless Bill wants to interrupt.
No, I was talking to them.
Okay, yes, please, Jim, to be honest.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move to close tonight's meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor, by hand? 5-0 to close. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.